All right, today we're learning how to knock down in PDR. All right, so quick recap. The recap in order to get to touch up on the last principle, intensity. Like I said, however you hold it, just make sure that you are confidently in control with where you're intending to land. And more importantly, when we lift and we are processing the change and acquiring the next target, you have control of where you're landing next. And even more importantly, when you make contact, that it doesn't slip on you, okay? Because that micro slippage it stacks up and creates that micro marring in the clear. And then that will cloudy up your area. Actually, it'll cloudy up the area, and you'll have a little bit more trouble seeing your target. You'll have to get the polisher, and then you'll have to correct that. So good control of your knockdown, right? Good foundation, good grip, okay? Downward angle, so that power is transferred through the knockdown properly. This good downward angle allows the tip to go to work for us like the way it's designed to be. Otherwise, you catch it on the edge, you might cause micro pock marks, micro lows, okay? So let that downward angle allow that tip to go to work for you. You're an artist, you want to be in control of your paint brushes. We want to create a good sight picture. So if I hold it too low, you can even see that when you hold it too low, the reflection of your hand in the light and the paint even starts to kind of mess with you. So if we're holding it up a little bit higher, not only do we start to create a micro and a macro perspective, meaning we can see right where we're wanting to land, but as we're hitting and creating change, when we're lifting and processing that change, I can also see the big picture change. So both micro and macro perspective is created with a good sight picture, okay? This hand's job is to place, so picking a target, placing, and then lifting immediately after being in contact, okay? If we keep the tool tip on here and we make contact, keep the tip on here, you won't see those micro changes that are stacking up until it's too late. You might start to create a micro low without realizing it. So we want to place and then lift. That also allows that energy that is being transferred directly through the knockdown. And then once it's transferred to the panel, it allows that energy to radiate outwards instead of staying on the panel and continuing to drive through the panel. We want that energy radiating outwards. So we are placing and then lifting like a good sewing machine. This is picking target, lifting, processing the change, pick a new target, place, okay, place and lift after each strike, okay? This hand's job, the rhythm, right? Think loose, relaxed wrist. It comes in, dribbling the basketball, right? Finesse, we're letting those fingers cradle the ball back and then cradle it down. But as fingers are already being sent down, the wrist is already coming back up. We want to create that rhythm, right? So as we create that rhythm, that's going to allow this hand to get out of the way after the strike. So this hand, the knockdown hand, can actually lift, get out of the way, and allow that energy to radiate outwards, allow us to be able to process the change after each hit, right? So we're able to get into that rhythm, okay? We want to start creating a pattern. So we just showed the pins as we're looking at this defect right here. If we keep our head still, we won't be able to just see. We need confirmation of where we're wanting to land. So it's just as important as when we're pushing that we get movement going. When we're knocking down, moving from one light to the next, head up a little bit higher to confirm the highest point that I want to give attention to. Head down so I can see just how far out that defect actually stretches. I want to be giving full attention to the entirety of the defect, right? So we're going to be confirming where we're landing, our first target. This hand is just going to, like I said, we're hitting the power button. This hand's job is just get into that rhythm. Relax wrist. We're not stiffening the wrist, stiffening the fingers and driving that energy through. That will lead to you stopping at the either bottom or the top of your swing. We just want this to be a good, relaxed rhythm, okay? And then if this front finger was not involved, this would be a big floppy mess. We want to actually break this plane, okay? So we want that head to lift. When I'm hammering, I'm more thinking of, I'm giving my bandwidth, my energy and my bandwidth more to the lift rather than the drive down. So I'm just lifting, 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 letting the weight of the hammer make contact. Okay, so when you do make contact, you can see where I'm wearing it right in here. If you hit at the tip of your hammer or hit at the tip of your paddle, you're going to find yourself needing to hit harder. Okay, so just let the meat of the hammer make contact with the top of that knockdown. Okay, make contact with the meat of the whatever strike face you use. Make contact with the meat of it. That will allow you to just focus on the lift. Okay, so as we're lifting, okay, and letting that natural weight of the hammer come down and make contact, the meat of the hammer is going to allow the intensity needed for the hit rather than hitting the end of the paddle or into the hammer and us having to add to that intensity. Those first gears, like the gearbox that we were talking about yesterday when we're pushing, we want the first few gears of intensity to be a lot more natural. I don't want to be adding intensity, okay? So we'll come back to intensity in just a second. But I want the meat of the strike face to be making contact, okay? I want that front finger, whether you use a hammer or a paddle, okay, to be constant contact, in constant contact with the hammer. So it's going to flex with it, but it's also going to guide where it's going to strike. It's going to guide. And as it's being guided downwards, the wrist is already gearing up for the next hit. Okay, so guide that down. Don't stiffen up and strike. Okay, just let it flex with and flex down. Flex with the hammer, flex down. It's just guiding it where it needs to go. Okay. Now, we also want to make sure that we are making good flat contact with the knockdown. Okay, if you make contact with the side of the knockdown, that too is another thing that's leading to that micro marring in the clear coat. So we want to eliminate that as much as possible. Not all clear coat is the same. You guys have probably seen it in the shop. Some clear coat's soft, some's a little bit harder. You probably heard the technicians say, man, this clear coat's super soft. Doesn't matter what knockdown tip I'm using, they're causing some kind of marring or pockmarking or change in the clear. Super soft paint, right? So to help avoid some of that, even just the little bit of messing around we've been doing right here, if y'all want to see, can you see the little marks right in there? Okay, so we're not hitting hard. Toyota has a really soft paint on some models, right? So and some not, but this clear is very much affected by every little bit of contact. So we want to try to minimize or mitigate some of that marring stacking up on us. So good flat contact with the knockdown, but also when this hand comes in and makes contact, we don't want to be catching the edge of the knockdown. We want to try to hit the top of that knockdown face. Okay, so flat contact, both with the strike face and the knockdowns strike face. Okay, so good flat contact. That's going to lead to less slippage, micro slipping down here at the end. Okay, now as far as intensity goes, the last principle on this list here, as far as intensity goes, yesterday when we were talking about pushing and we're adding intensity to our push, I referred to the intensity like a gearbox. If we want to be able to, with control, shift up and down, dial up and down that intensity, okay? We want to be in control of that, okay? But we want intensity to be the last thing that we go to, okay? Both with pushing and knocking down. Intensity is last. We don't want to jump right to intensity when we're pushing. We don't want to jump right to intensity when we're knocking down. But as long as you got principles 1 through 4 locked in and you're ready to add some intensity, just like when we're pushing, when we add intensity when we're pushing, we're not adding power. We're just extending the range of that flex Yesterday I was saying, okay, flex a little bit deeper, flex a little bit deeper. Same power, we're just extending the range of that push a little bit deeper into the push. Okay, so the first few gears are just extending the range. It's the same thing with knocking down. Okay, so if you recorded me knocking down, there would be kind of a low and a high, fairly consistent low and high. And as I want to hit harder, I'm not thinking drive down, I'm thinking lift a little bit higher. Let's extend that range. So I'm just thinking lift a little bit higher, lift a little bit higher. Okay, so lift a little bit higher. We're letting the weight of this just fall naturally. Okay, so we're not driving down in those first few gears of intensity. Just as you're needing to hit harder, okay, just lift a little bit higher. As you lift a little bit higher and that front finger is guiding that strike face down, the hammer, the paddle, whatever, down, that is going to add to some of that power, but I'm not thinking downward energy in those first few gears in that gearbox of intensity. I'm lifting a little bit higher, lifting a little bit higher, extending that range. Then I can start adding some on the downward. That's the escalation. So the escalation is going to be no intensity, trusting the principles, just the precision, that rhythm, that recoiling, that pattern, okay? Being patient and making multiple passes. That is where I want to start. Then if I need to add some intensity, as long as 1 through 4 are locked in, now I can start lifting a little bit higher. And just like when we were pushing yesterday, I said when you add intensity, it cannot take away from principles 1 through 4. And once you add intensity, it can't take away from you being precise, can't take away from you still generating a recoiling. Okay, it can't take away from your rhythm. Don't be pausing at the bottom, at the top. Okay, no jerky motion. Same thing with pushing. Don't jerk into the push. Okay, let it be a good fluid movement coming out of the push just as clean as you're going into it. Flex. Okay, don't force, don't pause. Okay, so good recoiling, okay, and rhythm, okay. As we add intensity, I'm just lifting higher, but it can't take away from everything else. Precision, recoiling, that good rhythm, okay. Still letting that left hand intentionally focus on creating a pattern, okay. So just because I'm hitting harder, can't take my focus off me hitting my target, okay, with intentionality, okay. And I still mentally want to commit to making multiple passes. That's going to ensure that we're being patient, okay? But as you add that intensity, as long as 1 through 4 are locked in, okay? As long as 1 through 4 are locked in, and I'm lifting up a little bit higher, okay? And then I want to get that movement, right? So up and down, leaning in, left and right, okay? Pattern is changing according to the perspective, so my pattern is fluid. So as I'm confirming my target and seeing just how much I'm knocking down, I'm also leaning in and giving attention to the fullness of that defect from each perspective. So a little bit of spiraling here, a little bit of stretched out from here. These are man-made highs, glue pulls. So we have that supported metal, unsupported metal, right? So our pattern is fluid according to our perspective. But if you will do that, if you will then on the man-made highs and the natural highs, on the natural highs, the ones that are caused from a damage, should be more patient and trust that 1 through 4 principle, be real patient, knocking those down. But on these man-made, okay, you're gonna have to get to that intensity a little bit faster. Don't skip over any of the principles, but get to that intensity because it's all compression at the top, immediately followed by a bunch of stretch metal. So we need to break up that compression, then start laying it down. But if you don't break up the top of this feature, if you don't find that intensity fast enough, this marring is going to continue to stack up. This metal around here is going to start to be driven down and low because that stretched metal is instability. Okay, so we got to break up that compression, but we want to commit to 1 through 4 and then add that intensity. Does that make sense? Sweet.